Hey everyone, this is Luke, the Metroidvania Guru, and I want to thank you for checking out this video. It's a little bit of a deviation from the content I typically make, but I'm kind of going on a break. It's July, and I wanted to, go out and do some stuff with the family, and so I wanted to make some easier content for the channel. So I sent out a question to the community, just asking, hey, if there's any just basically doing an AMA. I mean, you click the video thumbnail, you know what's up. So yeah, just doing Ask Me Anything, and y'all replied, and I'm just going to answer those questions now. I'm not going to answer them in any particular order. I'm just going to kind of throw them up on the screen and do my best. Here we go. All right, first question we have is from Beat Qtel. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, but that's probably what's going to be happening this whole time. So anyways, Beat asks, what is your take on traditional Zelda games? Well, this may or may not surprise you. I'm actually not the biggest fan of Zelda games. I've played a majority of the mainline games, don't get me wrong. I don't know, I just thought they were all right. I guess I'm just not a big puzzle guy or dungeon dude or something. That being said, I absolutely loved Link to the Past. I used to come home from elementary school and beat that game on the daily. I was obsessed. But for some reason, there really hasn't been any other Zelda games that have resonated with me as much as Link to the Past. I remember I used to play the one on Game Boy all the time. What was that one called? Link's Awakening. That got like a remake recently. I need to play that remake, but I played it all the time on the original Game Boy when it first came out. And so the original Zelda I liked as a kid. I loved Link's Awakening, and I was, again, just completely obsessed with Link to the Past. But every Zelda game after Link to the Past, I just haven't really been into. Even up to Tears of the Kingdom, I didn't really like. Like, I loved Breath of the Wild. I played all the way through that, and I enjoyed that a lot. But for some reason, when I started playing Tears of the Kingdom, I wasn't stoked at all. I played it for a little bit, and I hated the Ultra Hand. I hated creating stuff, and it's like, I hated it when Banjo-Kazooie did it with nuts and bolts. Why the heck would I like it when Link does it? I don't know. Yeah, so I got a few hours into Tears of the Kingdom and just wasn't digging it, so I just gave it to my oldest daughter. I was like, here, you play this. But anyways, I could see how Zelda can scratch that MV itch. I would actually consider the Zelda franchise Metroidvanias if they were dedicated platformers. But anyway, there's a lot to like about the Zelda formula. You find a dungeon, you find the item in the dungeon, you use the item to defeat the boss in the dungeon, use that item to find cool stuff in the overworld and possibly get to the new dungeon, and then rinse and repeat until you get the Ganon or whatever. The only thing I don't like about the formula is subjective, and that's that I don't like clever dungeons. I don't know. I like puzzles and combat and searching for stuff, but putting it all together while trying to navigate a labyrinth has never been my forte. Obviously, there are tons of people who do like that. I just don't. All right, next question from Fanhat9506. Dear sir, do you want to build your own Metroidvania? It's funny, I guess the answer is not really. I know absolutely nothing about game development, and I'd be content with really just being a fan of the genre. But if I did make one, it would be something like this. I was actually laying in bed with my wife, and I was going over these questions. This one came up, and she asked me if I really did ever want to make one. And I said, man, I've had one in my head for a while. I don't know if it would work, but here you go. And I explained it to her, and she said it was awesome. So obviously it's awesome. But here's what I was thinking. I'm going to use terminology because I came up with this when I was playing with the second Castlevania, Simon's Quest. And I was like, how cool would it be if there was a Metroidvania and it was like a 8-bit, 16-bit Metroidvania, right? And it plays, very similarly to Simon's Quest, without all the stupid translations and bullcrap, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, how was I supposed to know I was supposed to, crouch by that wall with the red ruby or whatever it was? But anyways, you're playing this kind of antiquated looking game, right? That's a Metroidvania, and it plays like a Metroidvania, like a traditional Metroidvania. And it's really short. Maybe it's like 2 or 3 hours long. And so you beat the Metroidvania, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, a 2 or 3 hour romp, maybe a little bit longer than that, because I would think 4 to 5 hours is probably a good solid length for a short Metroidvania. But here's the twist, because it has to have a twist. As you're playing through the game, there are NPCs kind of like in the background, or like you see them like at the edge of the screen and they leave suddenly or something like that. These are kind of like gypsies, if you will, and I'm using the word gypsy because that's what they were using in Simon's Quest. That might be a slur, I apologize, but I'm just going to use that word. If anyone's upset, let me know in the comments. And so anyways, these gypsy characters are like always on the fringe, and you can't really do anything with them, and and you can't really interact with them, but they're just there, and they're always like always in the background, and sometimes it's a little glitchy when they're around, like very briefly, and then they're just gone out of nowhere or something. And so I want it to be like kind of obvious, but not too obvious that there's something a little bit more going on. And so after you beat this Metroidvania, like I said, it's like 4 or 5 hours, very short Metroidvania, you then like play it again. Not so much like a new game plus, but something's got to push you to want to play this game again. Maybe something happened in the credits, or something weird is going on. You're like, I want to play this game again and see what I missed, right? And when you restart the game, everything is basically the same, but now these gypsy characters are interactable, right? I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but you can actually like find them in hidden spots and talk to them. And think of it like they want to talk to you, and they're having a hard time doing it. And so here's kind of the twist, and I know it's like, oh, really? But basically, like, think of it kind of like the Matrix, right? Yeah, it's kind of like the Matrix, and these gypsy characters are infiltrating the simulation, and they're trying to wake you up. And so you do stuff in the simulation, and you start listening to the gypsies, and they actually wake you up. And think of it very much like how Neo wakes up, and he's like in this tube, and whatever. I want it kind of like that, but it's just like your main character is all by himself in this lab or something, right? And the graphics are very modern graphics. I'm talking 3D graphics now, and it's not like 2.5D. I'm talking like it's like almost like a complete genre shift. And so you go into this 3D world, and now it plays kind of like a Souls-like. And so what you got to do is you got to find these gypsy characters in the quote-unquote real world now, because you were in the simulation the whole time. You find these gypsy characters, and they tell you like what's really going on. And I don't know, I didn't really go into the details, but basically you're hooked up to this machine, and they're taking away your life force because you're some sort of special entity. And now you have to find whoever did this to you and stop them before, something catastrophic happens. Like I said, I'm not a details guy. And so these gypsies are trying to help you, regain all your powers so you can be this powerful entity again, because all your stuff's getting drained. And so now you have to go in and out of the simulation without getting caught by like Sentinel type characters from the Matrix. And so now we have these brand new enemies within this 8-bit simulation, and so you're diving in and out of the original game, and now you're opening up more areas within the original game, and maybe some of these areas are glitchy or whatever. So anyway, that's kind of what I was thinking. And then you finally get to like, this is like the true path or whatever, where it's just basically a second entirely different game. But anyways, I'll stop there because I don't really have the details, but that's what I would like to see if I ever made a Metroidvania. So if that ever happens, either I actually made it or someone ripped me off, and I ain't even mad. Rip me off and make it, because it sounds cool. All right, the next question is from Phil Flick, and he asks, what are your hopes for Ender Magnolia when it releases? And I imagine Phil asked this question because he knows that Ender Lilies is like one of my favorite games of all time. It is probably my favorite Metroidvania, easy. And so I'll be frank with you, I have not played the game at all yet. I'm not into early access. I don't like that. I just want to play the game when it is complete. The only time I play a game when it's not complete is if they have like DLC down the line. Like I played through Blasphemous before all its DLC was released. But other than that, I don't do early access just because I want to play the game in its intended as its intended experience. As for what I'm looking for in Ender Magnolia, I want it to have the same quality of storytelling as the first, which I'm a little nervous about because I've seen there's a ton of NPCs to speak with in this game. The original's environment was very dilapidated, and the story was given through the spirit's memories. You defeat the boss, and then you get to see their memories. That way of storytelling was just so effective and so emotional. It was just such a great way to deliver that narrative. And I think having all these different NPCs could really change how the narrative is delivered. And I get it, it's a brand new game. It should be different, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want it to be too different. But anyway, I think I'd also like to see a direct link between the two games. I think Magnolia takes place like 100 years in the future, so I'm not anticipating meeting Lily in the game or anything like that, but some kind of link between the games would be awesome. Maybe you go back to Land's End for some reason, even if it's only to that one spot where Lily can purify herself on that flower for the bad ending or something. That would be cool. A Goofy movie. It's a pretty underrated Disney movie from like 95 to 97. I can't remember exactly when it came out, but it's kind of seeing a resurgence. I see a lot of TikToks and a lot of people doing a lot of the Powerline dances and singing the songs from Powerline, and I love to see it every time. I'm so excited. But yeah, that's genuinely a great movie, and what makes it so fantastic is I watched it as a kid, and I was on Max's side, right? And Max is he's like, oh, I want to go to this party, and I want my dorky dad to leave me alone. But now that I'm an adult, I look at it from Goofy's perspective. I'm like, Max, you turd, will you just spend time with your dad? Gosh, he doesn't want you to go into the electric chair, right? And so it's genuinely a very well-written movie because of that. And the fact that it grew up with me and I'm able to see it from both perspectives is pretty unique, and I loved it a lot. And of course, all the music's banging in it. I love every single song in that freaking movie. And I'm not really a musical guy. I don't hate them. I don't mind them. But like, I'm not an expert, but I think this is really interesting that this is a musical that has a love song in it between two heterosexual males that are son and father. And I can't think of another musical out there that does that. You know, it has has like a father and son like love duet, right? And so it's legitimately breaking some new grounds too back in the 90s. But yeah, anyways, yeah, a Goofy movie, probably my favorite movie of all time. Right behind that is going to be Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump is one of those movies that's just it's so good. Like I probably don't even have to explain it to you. You know why it's good. It's dramatic, it's funny. Man, and there are so many moments in, like, I can quote so many moments in that movie. It's just so good. And just there's so many times where I will legitimately cry when I watch that movie. It is so sad, so sad. Like my daughter, she'll send me clips from the movie every once in a while that she'll find on TikTok and send them to me just because she knows that like it'll get a reaction out of me. Like she sent me one. It was the clip where Forrest sees his son, you know, and he just Jenny reveals that that's his son. It's spoilers, by the way. Whatever. This movie's 1,000 years old. Y'all should see it. But anyways, Jenny says that, you know, reveals that that's his son, and like the look that Tom Hanks gives is Forrest. Like Tom Hanks nails this freaking role, man. And he just looks at it and he goes, "Is he smart or is he like me?" And it's like, oh god, it tears me up every time. And then of course, Bubba, when he's like, "I want to go home," like not a dry eye in the house, man. Just that movie, it does everything for me. It, like emotionally, cathartically, I'm just going it's a roller coaster. Just easily just one of the best of all time. Fantastic movie. And then my last movie, because I'm doing my top 3 here, probably a weird one to pick, but I go back and forth between Weird Science and Back to School. Weird Science is like a sci-fi fantasy movie, you know, where these two boys make the perfect woman, right? But she's basically like a genie. Like I love that movie. I just have so much nostalgia for it. Used to watch it all, and I probably shouldn't have watched it as a kid because it's pretty inappropriate. But God, I love that movie so much. And then I know you only said 3, but I don't know. I'll give you 4 anyways. But God, Back to School is so amazing too. That has Rodney Dangerfield in it, and he's going back to college with his son. And this is so fun. I'm a huge Rodney Dangerfield fan. It has Sam Kinison in it, and just that's the triple Lindy. I talk about the triple Lindy all the time, which is the dive that he does in the movie. I don't know. Both of those movies, Weird Science and Back to School, I have a lot of nostalgia for. They're very funny. They make me laugh, and I can watch them over and over and over again. So, there, I got your answer. So I got a Goofy movie, Forrest Gump, and either Weird Science or Back to School. All right, next question. T-Water or Twatter 2828 asks, what MV got you hooked on the genre, and what are the most impressive narratives in an MV? Top 3. I would say the game, the Metroidvania that got me hooked was Symphony of the Night. I played a few before Symphony of the Night, but Symphony of the Night I really enjoyed. I loved its random drops and all the stuff that you could find in it, and just and especially, you know, the upside down castle. All that blew me away, and ever since I've played that game, I've been loving the genre ever since. But I'd also like to give a special shout out to Hollow Knight, because Hollow Knight really kind of like revitalized the genre. And so once I finally got into Hollow Knight, I was like, oh man, this is a good genre right here. But yeah, I give it the Symphony of the Night. Even though I played Super Metroid and Dragon's Trap and the original Metroid, it wasn't until Symphony of the Night where I was like, whoa, because it really wasn't a Metroidvania until we got to the Castlevania part of it, right? And what Iga brought to the table, I was absolutely hooked on. My top 3 favorite or most impressive narratives, I'd have to say Blasphemous is really great. Like the Miracle is, I don't know, I was just so enthralled by the Miracle and this tortured land. God, it really grabbed me. Same thing with Ender Lilies. I think that's another impressive one, and I love the lore behind Ender Lilies and the whole like thing about I'm not going to try to spoil Ender Lilies, but the whole maternal thing with Ender Lilies, and really how it really gets on your paternal side as well, or your fraternal side, you know, because I'm a father with daughters, and here's little Lily, right? And I have to protect her because she doesn't fight in the game. She summons spirits to protect her, and every boss that you fight in that game was a guardian that died trying to protect her. And now here she is protecting them and bringing, like, I don't know. I just really love so much what that game is doing narratively. It's really, really fantastic. And I would probably have to say I don't know if it's my favorite. Maybe it's my favorite. It's up there. And that's going to be Death's Gambit Afterlife. The original Death's Gambit really didn't hit for me. Like, it just kind of like ended and you're like, well, what's going on here? But when they added the expansion, the Afterlife expansion, everything just kind of made sense, and they did so much. And I don't want to spoil it here, but like, gosh, it does that thing that I love so. Even Ender Lilies does it too, where it's like it starts out as like kind of fantasy, and then it goes into a technological thing, and then it goes to cosmic horror, which I don't think Ender Lilies does cosmic horror. But anyway, what Death's Gambit does, and the twists that it does, and how it does things mechanically to mess with you, it's really, really impressive. So there you go, Blasphemous, Ender Lilies, Death's Gambit Afterlife. All right, this one comes from Emmanuel Bustos, 2693. What do you think about the Metroidvania trend about trying to be Dark Souls equivalents and cryptic worlds and lore? Honestly, I love it. I think this kind of storytelling fits naturally into the Metroidvania genre, because Metroidvanias have always been about environmental storytelling, you know, going all the way back to Super Metroid. And so really what Metroidvanias are adopting from, you know, the Souls-like formula of storytelling is really like item descriptions and maybe having more NPCs in the mix. And ultimately, I think it does a good job, or it works well together, because most Souls-like games, they have like the same formula when it comes to the setting. You have you know, this ancient civilization that flourished at one point, and now it is completely destroyed, and that's the point of attack of the story. Like, you're going to this civilization, and it's already like destroyed and dilapidated, right? And so through the environment, you can find a lot of what's going on narratively, which I've already said is something that Metroidvanias had been doing already. And so really, if anything, Metroidvanias are taking the trope of the ancient civilization being destroyed and trying to figure out what destroyed it, right? And you know, I like Souls-likes, and I like Metroidvanias, and then putting them together, I love it. That's not to say I love everything about Souls-like. I'm not a huge fan of corpse running and other facets. Those can go to the wayside, all I care. But this method of storytelling, as long as it's not overused, I'm fine with it. Like, sometimes I like just a straight up story being told, and sometimes I do like, you know, kind of the cryptic way of doing things, like Hollow Knight and Ender Lilies and you know, even Blasphemous, right? All right. Andre Villafranca asks, what Metroidvania sequels do you want the most? And also, what new things would you like to see in Metroidvania games? Mechanics and or stories, aesthetics, etc. Well, when it comes to most wanted sequels, it was Hollow Knight and Ender Lilies, but considering that they're actually getting sequels, I'd say Valdis Story, but that's actually kind of getting a sort of sequel in Wendigo Blue, or Wendigo Blue, I guess is how you say that. It's set in the same universe as Valdis Story, but with an all-new cast of characters, and I think it's a beat-em-up. I don't know if Wyatt and the crew are even going to be in it, but we'll see. So I guess the sequels I want the most now would be Death's Gambit and Astalon, Tears of the Earth. Death's Gambit definitely sets itself up for a sequel, but you wouldn't know that unless you downloaded the Ashes of Vados DLC. And Astalon is doing the Star Wars thing where its first entry isn't the first entry. According to the game's intro cinematic, Astalon's full title is Astalon Episode 2, Tears of the Earth. So I guess I'd like a sequel and a prequel to that game. As for new things in a Metroidvania, new and interesting abilities are always high priority for me. Whenever you play Metroidvania, you're going to get the air dash, you're going to get the double jump, you're going to get the wall jump. You know, these are staples and they're fine. I'm not going to like get upset that I get them. I love them, but I need a little bit more too. You know what I mean? Just like with Prince of Persia, you got the claw and you got like I can't remember what it's called, but it's like an echo where you like teleport back to your previous position. You know, cool stuff like that, because in that feeds into my next thing I really want to see in Metroidvanias, and that's more interesting platforming. As for everything else, I'll take whatever story and aesthetics you want to give me as long as it's delivered at a professional level. I'm more into original stories than ones inspired by myths, and I always love cool characters, so MV devs shouldn't cling too closely to the sense of isolation most MVs strive to create. Alright, Metushalak asks, what was your first MV and what are your other mainstay genres? My first MV was technically the first Metroid on NES, but I was so young and really didn't understand it, so I didn't really dig it that much. It wasn't until I played Super Metroid that I really understood what I was doing while playing that, games in that genre. So I always say my first is Super Metroid, even though technically it's the original Metroid. Other mainstay genres, I used to be big into fighting games, shoot 'em ups, and JRPGs, but I've kind of fallen out of those. A good tactical RPG will still get me excited, like the recent Unicorn Overlord. I love that. I also just like straight up platformers. 2D or 3D doesn't matter as long as it's a collectathon. Character action hack and slash games are always fun. I love Devil May Cry, and I even liked the stupid reboot DMC. I don't prefer it, and I'm glad we got the real Dante back in DMC 5, but DMC was so stupid it was good. And of course, I like me a good Souls-like. Next, Mint City asks, do you ever feel burnt out on the Metroidvania formula since you constantly play review games in this genre exclusively? Surprisingly, no. As long as the MV is good, which is tough because I have a high tolerance for bad MVs because I enjoy this genre so much. So even if it's like bad, I can still enjoy it. But if it's good, I'm gonna love it. I'll play other games in between MVs for sure, but I just don't get tired of MVs. Now, the moment I play a really bad MV, it's like the world's ended. I get irrationally pissed and stop playing MVs for a few weeks. It's crazy. Like sometimes I'll play like an MV that's so bad. Like I'm like probably Shinsekai Into the Depths. I just was not digging. I don't know what it is. I need to give that game a fair shake. But gosh, that game almost made me quit the channel because I get so irrationally angry when I play a bad MV. And I know there might be some people in the comments that are going to defend that game, and you absolutely can defend it because I only gave the game like an hour. But for some reason, that hour just pissed me off. I did not like it. And I remember looking at my wife, and I just turned the game off, and I was like, that's it. I'm done with the channel. Metroidvania suck. I was just so mad. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm a crazy person, but obviously I'm still here, and I still plan on giving Shinsekai Into the Depths a fair shake. I don't know. It's something about underwater. I don't like it. Like I know like something about underwater games I just don't like. I know like Shinsekai Into the Depths, Pronti, Aquaria. These games are just like, I have a tough time with. Even like Echo the Dolphin on Sega when I was a kid, I couldn't stay in that game. But anyways, I always come back to the Metroidvania genre because I genuinely love it so much. And the last question I got here is from Johanna Anderson 8646. Any upcoming vid of your physical Metroidvania collection? I mean, sure, why not? If that's something you all are interested in, yeah. I have, I don't know, 50-ish plus games, and it's still, and counting, I'm still collecting and building this collection. I am specifically collecting Metroidvania Switch games sealed. Now that's something I've only recently been doing. I have been collecting some, but then I opened some of them, and now that I am more focused in my collecting, I'm like, okay, I need to recollect some of these so I can get them sealed now. I don't know, I'm just I'm anal retentive like that. But yeah, I collect sealed Metroidvanias on the Switch, and I would love to show them off to you guys. Maybe I'll do that in August sometime. I'll try to make a video of that one. I am still building it. It's not complete, and I don't even have like a display for it yet because I don't know how many I'm going to be collecting. Like, I have a list of all the ones I want to get because I'm trying to get all the ESRB ones, but there are some that are, you know, that are PEGI or Japanese only that I've picked up as well. And so it's kind of tough to gauge what kind of wall space and what kind of like shelving I need for this collection. So I don't have a dedicated spot for it, but I can show my collection off like one at a time or something in some video. But yeah, I would love to do that if you guys are interested in it. All right, I'm going to finish this off by addressing some other questions and comments I get in a lot of my videos. And so the first question I get a whole bunch is, will you be using your own game footage? Man, I try. I travel a lot for my day job, so I don't really have a dedicated space to sit down and record gameplay. I use recording functions native to the Switch and to the Steam Deck, and I splice that footage in when necessary, but the recording plugin I use for the deck it's just not very reliable at all. I really want to use nothing but my own footage, but it's just not plausible at this time, considering I'm always on the road, but it's something that I will be working toward. But just know, I do put in my own game footage here and there. I like sprinkle it within other people's footage, especially if I need to talk about something specifically. But yeah, that's something I'm working on, but I'm just not there yet. Here's one I get a lot. People be like, you call yourself a guru, you don't even have a Metroid game in your top Metroidvanias list. All right, okay. First off, that top Metroidvanias list is so outdated. If I were to recreate that list right now, it'd look completely different. And secondly, I'm sorry, I still wouldn't have a Metroid game on it. I just don't think Metroid games are very good Metroidvanias. I love Metroid games because they're good games, but they just don't excite in the same ways that other better Metroidvanias such as Hollow Knight do. Speaking of which, the biggest comment or question I get revolves around Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is the most overrated Metroidvania. I don't know what to say to this. I'm not the biggest Hollow Knight fan, but I like it. And I didn't want to like it. In fact, I hated it for the longest time. It took me 4 tries for the game to finally click for me, and when it did, I dug it a lot. But if you don't dig it, I totally understand. Its story is so opaque that it's tough to get invested in its world, and its combat comes with a learning curve. I'm talking about how the knight gets pushed back when he hits something with his nail. I know so many people who dropped the game because they hated that so much. It sounds silly, but I swear it happens. But despite all that, I just don't see why anyone would say Hollow Knight's overrated. It's genuinely great and does everything an excellent MV should. I'm just shooting from the hip here, so correct me if I'm wrong, but up until Hollow Knight, no MV rewarded you so handsomely for exploration as Hollow Knight did, adding in so much extra, hidden content in order to get its true ending. One could argue the Castlevania games did, and that's mostly true, but not to the degree Hollow Knight does. In Symphony, you get an upside-down castle. That was mind-blowing in the 90s, but that's hardly new content. And Symphony's story was never one players were enthralled by. Hollow Knight has biomes and secrets and relics and mechanics hidden behind its true path, almost like a whole other hidden layer. If anything, you can at least say Hollow Knight kicked the genre up to the next level. So, no, I don't think Hollow Knight is overrated. It's amazing and has brought so much to the Metroidvania table, namely by creating a marriage between narrative, exploration, and mechanics that so many MVs have gone on to emulate. So just because it's popular and you don't like it, doesn't mean it's overrated. It's okay to hate it if you want, but its impact on the MV scene cannot be denied. And that's it for the AMA. I appreciate the questions, I appreciate you sticking around for the answers, and I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back soon with some more Metroidvania content. Until then, hit me up in the comments with any more questions you might have, and, stay healthy. I'll see y'all later.